Right, just a few more seconds. And Ms. Mullenbeck, we're ready.
Welcome everyone to this meeting of the Board of Education of Glenbrook High School District 225. We will start with a call to order and a roll call. So Ms. Smith, could you please call the roll?
Mr. Downing,
Present.
Mr. Glowacki,
Present.
Mrs. Hope,
Here.
Ms. Mullenbeck,
Here.
Mr. O'Hara,
Here.
Mr. Schein,
Present.
Dr. Steinberg, 6 members present.
The next item on our agenda is approval of the agenda. Dr. Gravella, are there any changes to the agenda that was circulated?
There have been no changes.
Could I please have a motion to
That
approve
motion.
the agenda?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
We're moving on now to our superintendent report. Dr. Gravell.
Well, good evening, everyone. Happy Monday and happy start of the second semester, or technically the second week of the second semester. It has been a joyful time to welcome back our staff for 2 days of professional learning on Monday and Tuesday last week, and then our students back on Wednesday. And it's a bit crazy to see all of the different things that are happening already this week, including celebrating both our varsity boys and girls crosstown basketball games coming up later on this week. And even we're starting with musical auditions. So a lot of exciting things to think about. And I wanted to just kind of end on that little kind of preview note, because I'll be sending a note to all the board members to remind you to hold Cinderella's date on your calendar. And we look forward to having everyone come together for that Glenbrook Foundation event. A few other updates today. True North, our special education cooperative, just had a new birthday, if you will, with the launch of our new Articles of Agreement that went into effect on January 1st. As part of that transition, there's now 2 governing boards, if you will. The first is an executive committee of superintendents, and the second is a governing board, which will include still Dr. Steinberg as our representative. The executive committee, we're very fortunate. The meetings are held right here around this table in this room. Those take place monthly. And we had our first meeting on January 5th to set the meeting schedule and elect officers. And as part of that, I was selected to serve as treasurer for the next 2 years. So looking forward to continuing this transition and supporting in any which way we can that ultimately lead to opportunities for our kids who are in need of support outside of the school district. Second topic is a follow-up to our last meeting, which we only had one in December, so it feels like a long time. We presented the first strategic plan update of the year. As part of that, we did record the presentation, and that's now available on the strategic plan portion of the website. So on the district or school websites, you scroll on down, you'll see a big graphic that says strategic plan. You click on it, and now we have a direct link for anyone to just watch that portion of the video if they'd like. The update was pretty extensive. It was over an hour long, so a lot of great things there, and very fortunate again to have Dr. Cummings and Mr. Breitag walk us through so much of what's happening in Goal 1. And then, based on board member feedback, we took some time to develop a new, we are officially calling it the 2-pager, but it's a dashboard of what we've done, where we've been, and where are we going in the future. On the front page, you'll see some key achievements that we really celebrated from a metric standpoint, as well as a looking forward section. And on the second page, you see percentages of how far we have come in our 5 different strategies for Goal 1. If the board member, any board members have feedback on this structure, please go ahead and send it to me. I'd really like to use this moving forward. Every time we present a goal, we'll also develop this and share it with our community. And this is also now available on the website for our community members to review. And added little 21st century call out. We also have a QR code there in case you just want to quickly go to the strategic plan website. Next up, I'd like to invite Mrs. Mandy Hughes, our principal at Glenbrook North, to introduce someone special here with them tonight.
Hi, everybody. I am pleased to introduce Mr. Matthew Bowser as our next Associate Principal of Operations and Student Experiences at Glenbrook North. Matt, can you come up here? GBN began the hiring series for the associate principal position immediately following the appointment of Lauren Bonner to assistant superintendent, and that process included gathering feedback to build a portrait of our ideal candidate. Before Thanksgiving, we received nearly 30 qualified applications for this position. In December, the building conducted 2 rounds of interviews with 6 and 3 candidates respectively, involving staff from all areas that interact with this role, including teachers, clerical staff, building and grounds personnel, instructional supervisors, and other administrators. Throughout both rounds, Matt stood out in his commitment to many elements of our profile of a candidate, such as problem solving as a team player, building relationships within the school community, communicating with honesty and transparency, and problem solving through creativity, flexibility, and organization, to name a few. Matt began his educational career as a physical education and health teacher at Willowbrook High School. Additionally, he served as a dean of students for 2 years and coached football and basketball. For the past 18 years, Matt has been the assistant principal for athletics at Glenbard North High School. We're practicing making sure we get that right in both settings, in Carroll Stream, Illinois. During that time, Matt has focused on building relationships with staff, students, and the Glenbard North community. Those who currently work with him speak very highly of his collaborative nature, visible presence, and high expectations for performance. Matt has a bachelor's degree in physical education with a minor in health from Elmhurst University, as well as a master's degree in administrative education from North Central College. When not in school, Matt enjoys music, being active, and supporting Chicago sports teams, which has been lots of fun this weekend. Matt lives in Glenview with his family, and his wife Tracy is here tonight. Matt's excited to work with the dedicated team members, families, and students at Glenbrook North High School and across District 225. He believes that building relationships, proactive communication, and collaborative practices make our school the best place for our students to thrive, which I saw in person today. He came a little early and we did a tour throughout the building again for all the other places he hasn't seen yet. And he was introducing himself to everybody. It just felt like it's been like this the whole time. So it was really great. I'm excited that Matt will join our Spartan community officially on July 1, but I'm also thrilled he'll be visiting throughout the second semester to meet our community, continue to meet our community, and learn about upcoming projects, much like he did this evening here at GBN and also at the facilities meeting just before this, so he can hit the ground running in July. So please join me in welcoming Mr. Bowser.
Oh, nice. Just and Matt, we promise in the future on your very first day before you start, you won't necessarily have 3 hours of meetings on a regular basis. All right. Next up, I want to ask Mrs. Hughes to take a few moments to talk about the celebration and welcoming of the class of 2030. Just last Thursday, we introduced all of our new Spartans and Titans, and the numbers are up here. 503 new Spartans, 666 new Titans to curriculum night just last Thursday. And Mandy will walk us through what that experience looked like.
Yes, so at both GBN and GBS, we had wonderful evening events. Each family received, just like you have in front of you, the hard copy of the 26-27 course guide and our new student guide. The students and families attended large group presentations, and they were welcomed by building administrators in those large presentations. We know how this transition is very naturally surrounded with both excitement and nervousness for our families and our students. So the teams worked really hard to be welcoming and reassuring while also trying to communicate a large volume of information. Families learned about course levels, course requesting, the different supports available, and most importantly, the exciting opportunities that they have in their core and elective areas. So using various strategies such as videos or student presenters, those presentations set the stage for the second half of the evening, where students and families had the opportunity to talk with instructional supervisors, teachers, and other student volunteers who came to demonstrate things so they could see what it all looked like. It was really exciting, and we were thrilled to welcome the class of 2030. I wanted to share two favorite moments from the GBN event. First, it was wonderful to hear our students, who are current students, many of them current freshmen, speak to the crowd about their experiences in their courses. So you can see an image of that up on the screen. That was great. And then the second thing that I really appreciated as well was watching our parent organizations really welcome all of our families in the field house when we had our event. Not only were there all the connections between teachers and instructional supervisors, but seeing families welcome other families was really a neat way to join the community of Spartans, and it was really great. These nights are a ton of work to put together, so I really want to make sure that I emphasize and thank the many hands that work together, such as everyone on the administrative team, the instructional supervisors, teachers, the clerical staff, our theater staff, building and ground staff, and all of the district staff who work together to make these events possible. It was really great.
Thank you so much, Mandy. And that does conclude our report, but it does bring us to the next topic of something we haven't had before. Do you mind if I just kind of give a little preview? So back in December, we identified a group of board members that were committing to go to different parent organization meetings. And just last week, and now I'm forgetting, was it Wednesday? Wednesday. We had Mr. Glowacki and Mrs. Hope attend the Glenbrook North Parents Association. So I didn't know if you guys wanted to provide an opportunity and share your experiences.
Sure. It was another great meeting, and I think over 75 people registered, which was fantastic. It was quite a turnout. The guest speakers were wonderful. Of course, Dr. Bruno talked about CTE, and Mr. Davidson about fine arts, and spoke to all of the parents about those particular departments. And there were a lot of incoming freshman parents there too, so they got to hear a lot about that, and it was really exciting. And then just hearing from the different parent association board members and Mrs. Hughes, it was just really neat. And as always, everyone who spoke talked about how much they love GBN and how invested they are in the community and the students, and it was a great meeting.
So as we continue to have a few more meetings, I believe this week we have a foundation meeting and one other meeting coming up. Hopefully the board members will have an opportunity to share their experiences.
The foundation meeting actually got moved to the following week, but I'll report back on that next meeting.
Very good. Oops, we have one more item. We did have a facilities committee meeting, which you've already heard a little bit about. So I will defer to any facilities committee member. It seems like Mr. Shine might have some thoughts that he'd like to share.
Well, I've been volunteered to, voluntold, Matt, to share just a little bit of information from the facility committee regarding long-term master facility plan. And just briefly, this is an initiative that has been worked on for more than a year through both facilities and finance, and then in conjunction with our architects and construction managers, looking at the needs of the Glenbrooks from now over the next 10 years. It's a state mandated requirement to develop a 10-year facility plan. And then within that plan, there are various types of projects. And there's a lot of focus on safety. They call them life safety, but safety and security, mechanical, electrical upgrades, et cetera. And I think some of the important or most important takeaways is the ability of the Glenbrooks to pursue these projects without incurring additional debt and therefore no additional cost to taxpayers. So we would be retiring and reissuing debt at the current level and then using those funds to initiate these projects. Right now, they're a framework, so there's a list of projects, they're prioritized. And the next step, it would then be working with our architects and engineers to put some further development into and further prioritize, working with staff and students. A lot of effort will go into exterior pieces of the campus. For example, stands, in the stadium stands, turf fields, different things of this nature, that press boxes, things that have just lingered for literally decades. And one thing that kind of surprised me is how long or how old our first round of athletic fields, of turf fields. And it was somewhat controversial when we put them in, and we were the last. In our division, in our group, somehow we ended up being the last to do it. And here we are, was it 20 years roughly we are? Yeah, and it's time to, to upgrade and renovate them. They need a maintenance. They told us when they were put in. And we've actually been able to exceed the lifespan of the point to the major maintenance on these. So now that's coming up. And the request is we really need more of these fields. When we, for example, this was a huge expenditure. It was fields and track, and it was a really big deal. As soon as we put them in, we saw the use, the band on the field, the Poms on the field, girls field hockey. I mean, you name it, the activities, gym classes, all went to the field because we weren't destroying the football field for 14 days of use out of the year. These things are getting hammered all the time. Park district, the young kids playing sports in our feeder programs. So those are things that we are on the docket, as well as picking up and continuing current initiatives like the restrooms that we're slowly renovating. So it's a dovetail where we're continuing on the stuff we're doing, plus then we're layering over the top of this with the 10-year plan, and it'll just be business as usual. It's just, we've done this before. 10 years is a long time, and then this will continue every year, roughly what, about $8, $9, $10 million a year to just layer these projects in there and work on them. As an example, we have 75-year-old boilers at GBN. They're fine, they're working, but that's pretty old plant in that building. So we need to be thinking about those things. So one day when it's wind chill of 30 below, we don't have to cancel school and nobody comes here and says, well, why didn't you deal with that? Wasn't it obvious that you needed to deal with that? And this plan is an initiative to get all those things out on the table, allow the board, the community, and the administration to look them over and provide the feedback to help us prioritize that list. So combination of staff, facilities committee, finance committee, and then our outside, our students. We mentioned the parent organizations will all have an opportunity to come to the table and talk about these things as we move forward. Anything else from you guys? You sure?
Nice job.
Thank you.
Thank you for those reports. The next item on our agenda is recognition of community visitors. I am told that we do not have anyone who has signed up to speak tonight. But we always welcome visitors, and anyone who would like to speak, please come to a meeting. If you're not comfortable doing that, you can always send us an email, leave us a voicemail. We're happy to chat. The next item on our agenda is the consent agenda. Dr. Gravel, have there been any changes to the consent agenda?
There have been no changes.
In that case, could I please have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Downing,
Yes.
Mr. Glowacki,
Yes.
Mrs. Hope,
Yes.
Mr. O'Hara,
Yes.
Mr. Schein,
Yes.
Dr. Steinberg,
Yes.
Ms. Mullenbeck.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Moving on to our discussion agenda. The first item is our governmental agreement between Glenbrook High School District 225 and Oakton College.
Thank you so much, Ms. Mullenbeck. As the board knows, we enter into intergovernmental agreements or IGAs with different governmental partners. The existing IGA with Oakton College is quite dated, and Dr. Johns had worked with Mr. Petrarca on this prior last year. What we've done now is actually expanded that work to also include Maine Township, Evanston Township, and Niles Township High Schools, which all have partnerships with Oakton. So do we have the same agreement? The basic elements here is there's been some legal changes to the Dual Credit Quality Act that are now reflected in the agreement. That provides an opportunity for students to earn college credit while participating in high school-based courses taught by our faculty members. And then we've also clarified what's nearly a 40-year agreement, formerly referred to as the Alliance for Lifelong Learning. Those are community ed classes that are actually taught in our schools, trying to bring the community college experience closer to all the communities that are within the college footprints, with the exception of their general facilities in Skokie and Des Plaines. And it just clarifies that they can utilize our facilities and that there are fees associated for facility rentals just like normal. Happy to answer any questions, but it's really a standardized agreement, and it provides the ability for the district to end that agreement with a reasonable notice on an annual basis.
Thank you, Dr. Gravel. Mr. O'Hara.
You mentioned ending the agreement. Can Oakton end it too on that
Yes.
same? Okay.
It's reciprocal.
Ms. Hope, did you have any questions? Mr. Schein? Dr. Steinberg?
I'm assuming we have enough qualified teachers to,
We do. We have a large amount of dual credit programs. It's actually in the course guide that was conveniently placed in front of you. One of the things that's very important as we're starting to see staff retire and as we onboard new staff is identifying what opportunities we want to continue and what new opportunities we want to expand upon. So that's always a consideration, but right now we are staffed to support everything that we offer.
Mr. Downing? Mr. Glowacki?
Just one quick question, Mr. Gravel. You mentioned that this allows them to utilize our space and rent space.
Mhm.
How have they utilized it in the past?
So community ed courses have been offered at Glenbrook South since I've started. They're not many. It's 2 or 3 classes, often English as a second language courses, and then some other personal finance and a few other things. Typically, they meet once a week and for 9 or 10-week terms. And Mr. Wright, most recently, has been working with them, providing access to 2 or 3 classrooms. However, now we have started the conversation over at Glenbrook North. Mrs. Bonner, Mrs. Rose, our CTE welding teacher, and Oakton are talking about them actually teaching a credit-based welding class at North. Why that is very interesting and intriguing directly for our students is, as a institution of higher education, Oakton has tremendous access to different grants that we do not have access to. And if we are utilizing the same space, they can procure new equipment, upgrades, and enhancements to the space because it's a shared experience. So that is something we are currently exploring.
Thank you.
Okay, this all sounds great, especially the expansion of dual credit. I know that's something we've talked about a lot at this table and are prioritizing. So this will come back on consent?
Correct.
Any objections? No? Okay, sounds good. Let's see, that takes us to item 7.2 on the discussion agenda, which is the IEP Management Software License Agreement with Embrace Education.
Yes, I will introduce Dr. Skip Coombe, who you have probably met when you were
About a year ago.
Yeah,
This exact same
right.
space.
It's like deja vu all over again. Skip is here tonight. You know, it is his first year in the district, although it feels like it's been in a good way, in a good way, about 10 years. But to say that he's been busy is an understatement. He has really been spending quite a bit of time getting to know the staff, really listening to the concerns. And tonight he brings to you a memo and talking about switching IEP programs. Not because he came here wanting to do that, because the staff really has expressed interest in that. So I'm going to turn it over to, did I steal that from you?
No, you're
Okay,
good.
okay.
Perfect.
It's all yours.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much. So I still do introduce myself as the new director of special education, even though it has been about a year. And I standing here makes me kind of think back a little bit. So I do want to take a moment to thank all of you for the opportunity to work here. I remember when I saw this job posting, it's a dream job posting, right? It's something that you really want to go after. So you ask your friends, you talk to people about the Glenbrooks. And now I can tell you 6 months in that all the good things they said did not even do it justice. The students here have been absolutely amazing. So much fun to work with. Great to get to know. The families have been very collaborative. I've, as you'll see, talked to a lot of parents, anyone who will talk to me. The community has been absolutely great. I've been partnering, or we already have partnerships with, but helping to expand with the libraries in both towns, with the parks and recreation. So I've been trying to partner a lot with the community. They've been absolutely phenomenal. And then I could go on and on about how great the staff have been. The teachers, the related service providers, everybody here honestly is just absolutely amazing. I could spend an entire evening talking about that, but I did want to take a moment before I jumped in to just say thank you and to acknowledge that. So I appreciate it. And I would also say that as excited as I am to be here, it is a little bit shocking. I did not expect to, in my first year in January, in the first board presentation, talk about changing IEP systems, right? No one would ever start a new job and be like, let's change the way you guys are doing everything. That sounds like fun. That is never in a million years was that what I thought I would be doing today. But I feel comfortable being here because, as Dr. Cummings said, I'm really here to represent the voices of the teachers and the related service providers and everything that they have said to me. And I'm doing that because when I started, it was made very clear to me by Mr. Bretag, Dr. Gravel, Dr. Cummings, that we really lived through our strategic plan, right? We tie everything back to this. That was very clear to me when I started, which makes me happy because I came from a place that was the same. There's nothing better than having someone give you a playbook and be like, here, follow this. So that's what I did. And then when it came time to actually do it and we're sit down and talking our goals, it wasn't just in theory, right? Dr. Cummings and I talked about living through this and starting my tenure here by talking to teachers, being engaged with them, listening, getting to really know our school and our school cultures, which ties back to 4C is the feedback and sharing data, 4D, the values and input, 2D, district-wide relationships. Those are the things that we decided to really focus on in my first year. So as you can see in the timeline, July to September, I went and met with everyone who will talk to me. I've been meeting with parents in coffee shops. I've been out in the community. I've been talking to teachers. I've been meeting with our related service providers. I've been in classrooms, attending IEP meetings, trying to get to know everyone. And while I was doing that, I end every conversation with like, what do you need from me and how can I help you? And one thing that kept consistently coming up was Power School special programs, how we're writing our IEP systems. It didn't matter who I was talking to, it was a pretty common theme of it taking a little bit longer than it needs to, a couple issues. And it came up often enough that at some point in probably September, I went to Dr. Cummings and was like, enough people have said this. As a leader, there's got to be a point where you're like, am I just listening or am I really going to try to help here? And we decided, let's go forward and see if this is something that will really help our staff so that they can focus on helping students. So that's what we did. In October, I sent out an email and like a kind of needs assessment to our staff. In that one, I had compiled a list of some of the most common things that they are brought up, some challenges with Power School special programs. I had the box for other, and then I had what are things that are working well And then what are some challenges that you're facing, right? What are the things that are working well that we want to continue? And in that, I got 57 responses, which is a great response rate. I feel like that really showed across all 4 of our buildings. In that, there's roughly 50-50 as far as case managers and related service providers. So that means our school psychs, social workers, and speech pathologists. And we got qualitative feedback. So we got that. I went back to our team. We reviewed it, identified some common themes, some common challenges with the program we were using. And then I went to the system, this company called Embrace. And the reason I went to them and we didn't go out and look at a bunch of IEP systems is for several reasons. First off, sorry, I'll take songs. First off, all of our feeder districts use Embrace. So it's a system that our parents already know, our community is already using. Every single one of our parents of a kid with an IEP has used the Embrace system. Secondly, 95% of high schools in Illinois, outside of Chicago Public Schools, are using Embrace. So when students move in, they are already using Embrace. Families have already used Embrace. Our therapeutic schools are most likely using Embrace. It's kind of the gold standard in Illinois of IEP systems. So that's why we went to them. And I said, here's a couple of the challenges that we're facing. Could you talk to us about how you could address those? They hosted a series of presentations to our staff where they could attend. They were voluntary to come during the lunch hours and kind of go over Embrace, what it is, and how it can help address some of our challenges. I then went and did listening sessions at all 4 of our schools where I met with our staff. I met with everyone. I said, what are some of your concerns? What are the strengths? What are the challenges? And I can tell you that they were all like, yes, we would be on board with the switch. The qualitative feedback was really good. And that matched the qualitative feedback from our first survey as well. The teachers were giving really positive feedback about wanting a system where they could get more time to focus on students. And in that, we acknowledge that there is some change, right? So some of it was even funny. One person's like, I'm a dinosaur and I don't want change for the sake of change, but if it will really help us to help students, I'm all for it. So we had gotten really good qualitative feedback. We had done the presentation. So I did one last survey to staff where I did a 4-point, the Likert scale, with 1 being please don't change, 4 being yes, you guys change, I'm all in for it. We had 64 responses. Of that, 52 were a 4, so 81%. 9 were a 3, so 14%. So we're at over 95% were a 3 and a 4. We had 1 teacher was a 2 and 2 teachers were a 1. So overall, it was really resounding support for switching to Embrace. So that's what I'm here to talk about tonight. I do think it is a system that will be much more efficient for our teachers. It is going to help them save time so they can work with students. It is going to help our families because that is a system that they've used before. And we've already kind of started looking at what would be the next steps. What do we need to do? And it also, we've learned, ties back to goal 3E, which is simplifying tech and communication. We have found that Embrace is compatible with all the systems that we use. I've talked to our feeder districts. I've talked to people in other districts. I came from a district that used Embrace in Power School. They do communicate very well. The data sharing is very easy, and it is something collaborative that all of our teachers can use. So that is my pitch on Embrace and why we are where we are today. Any questions?
Mr. Glowacki?
Just a quick question. Thank you for the presentation and everything and all the work you're doing. You referenced 95% of the state and you had various talks with our feeder districts and everything.
Yep.
What percentage of our feeder districts are currently utilizing Embrace?
All of
today?
them are.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
all
for
of our feeder districts use it. So it's something all of our parents have already seen, used, and engaged
Okay,
with.
just want to make sure that I've followed. So that's wonderful.
Yes.
And then secondly, the implementation costs. You outlined the 3,500 that Embrace is going to charge us for implementing, but what is your estimate of our time? As many implementations, it's wonderful what the company will do, but it comes down to the people who know the records, working with them to review everything, and that's usually additional time and effort. What do you estimate that roughly to be?
There will be a little bit of time and effort on the front end, like you said, because we do have to switch our systems over to Embrace. So we are our IEPs over to Embrace. We have worked on that a little bit on who's going to do it and how they're going to. It is not very cumbersome. They can upload every single PDF. They can do an electronic transfer. So they will be able to get them on there, and then we will need to work on getting them into Embrace. It's per case manager, not going to be that much work, or we can find some other people who can help us with it.
Well, if you, I guess that would help just maybe a footnote as this comes back, just if you do have a rough estimate, if it's 3.5 hours on average per person, just to have that context of
Yeah, definitely. That's something we
what
can
the
figure out
internal
for you.
costs are.
And that's been a thing that we've been talking to our feeder districts as well, because a couple of them switched just a few years ago, within like the last 5 years. So I'm going to work with them and say, what were your challenges? What worked well? What did not work well? And I can maybe get a guess from
Yeah,
them as well.
Just, it'd be interesting. Thank
Yep.
you.
The other thing I will mention, typically when the 8th graders come over to high school, we are truly taking every field and copying and pasting it into our IEP system. This year, not needing to do that is going to save us an incredible amount of time for about 130 students that will just automatically transfer over. So that will save us
Right.
time, but yes,
Yeah,
we are happy to
It
get
will.
that for
It'll be
you.
nice. We'll have access to students' records all the way back to their initial IEP. Very easy to click on and just open. So it could be back to when they were 3 years old. Whereas now you have to log on to PSSP, click through, find it, so there will be a lot of time saving efforts for all of our teachers.
Wonderful.
Mr. Downing?
I was gonna say that. I knew that was kind of an issue, so I think it's great.
Yeah.
Nice work.
Mr. O'Hara?
Sounds great. I love the fact that you went through and talked to everybody, and then you do reach the point where like, well, do I have to do something? And so thank you for all the effort you've put in to get to this point and to get us to here. I guess the other nice thing is that cost savings will actually occur every year going forward, not just the first year. So that's kind of nice.
Ms. Hope? Mr. Shine?
Can you explain briefly how the regular ed teachers would interact with this system and then how it's like tied to Power School?
Yep. The most common way that they're going to interact with it is pulling up accommodations that they need to give in their classroom. So the systems do communicate. They'll communicate every single night. So if we have an IEP system today and we change accommodations, tomorrow when a teacher logs into Power School, they will be able to see the new accommodations. So within that, there's an icon that we can use in Power School that you can click on it and all students' accommodations can be pulled up. So it can be right there at a teacher's fingertips.
If there is a change, will a system like flag them so they like know to look for it? I'm thinking you've got a teacher's got 120 students, maybe, not
Yeah.
exactly sure, but what would key them to say, hey?
Yep.
I mean, an email could do that too.
That's how we've normally done it, is after an IEP meeting, we'd say, hey, we have changed the accommodations, especially if they relate to a certain class. Right, so a student with a specific learning disability in math might only have accommodations changed in math. And then we'd reach out to that teacher to not just let them know there were changes, but get back to us if you have questions about how that might impact your classroom.
Thank you.
Dr. Steinberg?
Just simply clarification, and I know we're saving a lot. Did Power School have special extra cost for helping manage before? So because we are adding a 12,000 per year cost. Of course, we're saving by simplifying processes and everything else. But in the past, was there a cost on the
Yeah,
system to
18,000.
do
It's
this?
in the memo.
Yeah,
That's what I was.
Yeah,
thinking.
Yeah, it's in the memo. It's 18,000.
It's the first line under financial
Oh, I thought that-
considerations.
I misread that part. Thank you. I'm good.
Yep. Thank you.
Is that it?
Yeah, thank you.
Well, thank you so much for presenting tonight. I have to echo Matt's comment. I think it's fantastic what you've done to go out and make connections with literally everybody, it sounds like. And when
I-
you say you could talk to anyone,
Don't dare me to meet with the people. I'll do it.
I get that sense. That kind of radiates from you. So that's wonderful. This sounds like this will be a great improvement. I think to me, the big takeaway is that the people who are going to be using this want this.
Yes.
Overwhelmingly want this. And you know, if over time we get a net savings from this as well, fantastic. So yeah, great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So
Appreciate it.
this will come back also on consent then.
That's correct.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Nice work.
The next and last item on our discussion agenda is board policy and procedures. And this is there's one particular policy that, although we're going through the larger policy overhaul project, which you've heard so much about, I know everyone finds fascinating. This particular policy has a more, we have to address it now rather than waiting for the longer process. And Dr. Gravel will fill us in.
Ms. Mullenbeck summarized it great. The Illinois State Board of Education every 2 years reviews bullying policies for a group of districts in the state of Illinois. This year is our year for review. Our existing policy was denied by the state board because it was lacking some elements that had recently changed due to some new legislation. After working with the consultant at ISB, they advised that if we adopted Press's policy as we had shared with them, we would be in compliance and not have this particular issue be an issue. If you look at the highlighted portions of the policy, they're pretty straightforward. Our policy did not expressly state the Title IX, the non-discrimination coordinators, and the complaint managers. The proposal does. And then there was just a requirement to state consistent with federal and state laws governing student privacy rights, so on and so forth. So minor changes. We did present this to the policy committee last Wednesday.
Yes.
Last Wednesday. There were no concerns that were raised, so we're presenting it here tonight. It would come back on consent at the next meeting.
Yes, so the policy committee did look at this, and as Dr. Gravel points out, and the highlighted text, these are really minor changes, and listing the particular contacts that someone with a concern about bullying would reach out to, and of course we will be consistent with applicable laws. But this is something that, because we are technically not in compliance at this point after the audit, it's important for us to address now. Did any board member have any questions or concerns about adopting this policy?
I just had a quick question, and it's not one of the updated parts, and I may be completely misinterpreting it, but in reading it, the first part talks about sort of bullying on the basis of, and then lists several things, but it's not an exhaustive list. And I wanted to make sure that, and later on it talks about what bullying is, but this would also cover bullying related to other things that are not listed here.
Yeah, it says including without limitation.
Okay, great.
Mr. O'Hara? No. Mr. Shine? Dr. Steinberg?
No.
Mr. Downing? Mr. Glowacki? See, the committee system works. All right.
It's a
so
trend.
If everyone is okay, this will also come back on consent.
Correct.
Wonderful. That takes us to the next item on our discussion agenda, which is possible topics for future board meetings. And we have a few here, but there is a small change, I think, to this. Yes.
Yes, so just as we've been doing, trying to highlight what's coming forward, we'll start with the full board meeting on the 26th. At that meeting, representatives from Glenbrook North and Glenbrook South will talk about student attendance and chronic absenteeism. Remember, that is one of our areas for growth. It's identified on the Illinois School Report Card. And also, Mr. Breitag will be kicking off, if you will, the annual school climate survey, previously known as the 5 Essentials Survey, but another key component of the state report card and also our school improvement plans. The one item that we are going to move is we were scheduled to talk about bringing student representatives to the board table at the communications committee. And we're going to move that to our next communications meeting, just to make sure all board members who might want to be part of that conversation can be present. We still, however, are going to talk about the fall communication survey and some great data there, and a few other topics. So all are welcome at the communications committee meeting. And Ms. Smith, I'm forgetting the time that we had agreed to, 5 o'clock. All right, 5 o'clock, a meal will be served for anyone who attends. All are welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Gravel. Did any board member want to raise any other topics to put on future agendas? Well, if you can't think of anything right now, that's okay. You can always let us know later. And we will continue to, let the community know, get a little bit in advance so that people are aware of what will be coming up in future meetings. So we will have a closed session tonight, and we will be having closed session for this purpose, to consider the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the public body or legal counsel for the public body, including hearing testimony on a complaint lodged against an employee of the public body or against legal counsel for the public body to determine its validity. Litigation, when an action against, affecting, or on behalf of the particular public body has been filed and is pending before a court or administrative tribunal, or when the public body finds that an action is probable or imminent, in which case the basis for the finding shall be recorded and entered into the minutes of the closed meeting. That's Section 2C1 and 11 of the Open Meeting Act. So I need.
So moved?
Thank you. We need a motion. We have a motion. Can someone second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Okay.